I've spent the last month diving into the top 10 most successful retired athletes, both men and women, and what I found honestly blew my mind. So after analyzing all of these successful athletes, I found a pattern. There are 3 distinct phases that actually separate these successful athletes to the rest of them. And I'm going to break this down for you because I do believe that What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Now What podcast. I am your host, Siarra Stout. Today, we're unpacking something that I've spent the last month obsessing over. I spent time researching the top 10 professional athletes that are now former athletes and trying to figure out what the heck they're doing with their life. I think it's a common theme amongst all athletes that when it comes to an end and you're left wondering, who the heck am I? What am I supposed to do? The actual pursuit of the now what question is, what is my purpose? What else am I passionate about? And so I just wanted to figure out, what are they doing differently? What are they doing that we can model after? I don't care if you played in high school. I don't care if you played in college, or maybe you're like them and you played professionally. You know, after looking at some of these big names, it was really interesting to see a common theme that they've all followed. I really do believe there's a blueprint to this, and that's why I want to talk about it, because I think that you and I can actually find value in what they're doing and implement it in our own life. So let me just paint you a picture. First, we all know who Michael Jordan is, right? We know the stats. He has 6 championships, 5-time MVP, and he's the greatest of all time, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I know there's an argument that LeBron, but I'm not going to get into that. But here is the statistic that actually stopped me in my tracks. It wasn't about his success on the basketball floor. It was actually about his success after, in his former athlete stage of life. Did you know that Jordan makes $150 million a year just off of his Nike royalties alone? The dude's been retired for over 20 years and he's making more money now than he ever did by stepping foot on the basketball floor. Research says that his net worth is actually up to $3.2 billion, yes, with a B, billion dollars now. That doesn't just happen by chance. You can make the argument all day that it's Michael Jordan, of course he did. No, he's a smart businessman and he leveraged what he had to turn it into an empire. So all of this got me thinking, what are people doing when they're done with their sport? What are us former athletes doing? Well, you'd be surprised to see the numbers that a lot of people actually don't know what they're doing, and that's the problem. Think about it. When you're at the top of your sport and your identity is so wrapped up in being that guy, that girl, that player, and when it's gone, you're even looking at yourself in the mirror wondering, who are you? So how do I know that former athletes are questioning this even after a successful sports career? Well, the numbers speak for themselves. Turns out that 78% of NFL players go broke within 5 years of retirement, and 60% do the same from the NBA. And no, these aren't the bench warmers, folks. These were the star elite players that we all know and love, who finished their sports career, didn't know what to do next. Instead of finding purpose and passion in other things, well, they blew it all. So let's circle back to Jordan. What makes him different? What makes all of these successful athletes different when their sport career came to an end? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so after analyzing all of these successful athletes, I found a pattern. There are 3 distinct phases that actually separate these successful athletes to the rest of them. And I'm going to break this down for you because I do believe that no matter if you played in high school, college, Division I, or professionally, this applies to your life and what we can do when our sport comes to an end. So phase 1 is brutal. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You have to absolutely kill your athletic identity, not your competitive spirit, but the identity piece of, I am a professional basketball player. I am a professional golfer. I am a football player. Even if it wasn't professional, that I am statement before that, it's no longer your identity. So we have to kill that off. You know, when I was doing all of this research, I found an interview of Serena Williams, and she'd been asked the question of, what are you going to do now? You know, what's your next moment? What's your next thing? And it was really impactful what she said. She said, I'm not transitioning from tennis, but I'm transitioning to business. So instead of running away from something, she was standing in the rooted identity that she was running towards something. It was just new and it looked a little different than her entire life. But I know that this is brutal and that killing of our identity is hard because most of us have been athletes since we were a little kid. And so again, when it's all you know, there's a real grief that happens. And I don't want to sugarcoat that, but again, I want to circle back to Michael Jordan. He didn't just see himself as a basketball player. He saw himself as so much more. And I do believe that's why he was successful, is because he was able to separate his identity from what we all knew him as in order to become a successful businessman. Now, phase 2 is where things get interesting, because you have to recognize that your reputation and your brand is actually your startup capital. You know, this is what most people don't know about Jordan and Nike. He initially wanted to go with Adidas, but the difference with Nike is that he got equity in the company, which already was setting himself up for long-term success and revenue. Again, he was building an empire before he even started playing in the NBA. And it's wild to me that that one decision is worth billions of dollars today, where most athletes would just take the paycheck and run and not have another thought about life after the sport comes to an end. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I'm not Michael Jordan. I'm not this big name. Why would anybody want to give me equity? You have the wrong mindset. The question is not whether somebody will give you equity. It's whether or not you're even asking for it. I mean, look at Tom Brady. He signed a $375 million contract with Fox. You think that he just took their first offer? Absolutely not. Derek Jeter bought into the Marlins and then sold his stake for millions of dollars. These guys were already learning to think like owners and not just employees. And my favorite, phase 3. This is where the magic happens. You're starting to think about building something that is greater than yourself. For example, Jordan owns the Charlotte Hornets, right? He bought the team for $275 million back in 2010. Today, it's worth over $3 billion. What an investment, right? But beyond that investment, here's what blew my mind. He actually partnered with Derek Jeter, Magic Johnson, and many other former athletes to start up their own tequila company. These guys used to compete against each other day in and day out, and now they're business partners. They are brilliant businessmen. They are not just athletes. That's what's cool about the business world, right? In sports, one person can win, or the collective team, but in business, anybody can win. So you have to be thinking, who do I know? Who have I been in contact with that I can then go utilize myself, my platform, my skill sets to do something greater than myself? I'm just going to take a moment to pause and let you reflect on the fact that all of these athletic transition stories, they're not about getting rich. They're about solving problems and finding purpose beyond what they've known. And that's what most people are missing. For example, Serena Williams. She's not just investing in random companies. She's investing in things that she's passionate about and she wants to stand behind. She's specifically investing in underrepresented founders, women, and minorities. Again, these are things that she cares about and she wanted to go make a difference in. It was more than herself and it was more than her tennis career. That's what is so cool about this to me, is that all of these athletes figured out that purpose beats profit every single time. And you know what? That's something that every single one of us can do, regardless of what sport we played or what level that we played it at. So here's my question for you. What problems do you want to solve? Because your athletic background gave you something that many entrepreneurs do not have. You know how to work hard through adversity, you understand discipline, and you know what it takes to perform under pressure. And those are the top secrets in the business world. That is what makes people so successful. So some action items of what you can do with this blueprint. Number 1, if you're still playing and you're listening to this, start brainstorming other things that you're passionate about and you can get started in now before your playing days are over. Or if you're on the flip side like myself, figure out today, begin a list of things that you care about, you would want to make a difference in, or a dream opportunity that you would love to be a part of. Number 2, stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an owner. I know for myself, I knew that through my athletic career, I would never be somebody that could sit in an office from 8 to 5 and be fine. I knew that I needed something greater, something that I wanted to chase after, because the way I was wired with sports and athletic, I couldn't really sit still. That really just wasn't my scene. And so I tried it out for a couple years and realized I'm going to go start my own business. So I did. I got out of the mindset of being an employee and started to think like an owner. Does that mean that I know how everything works yet? Absolutely not. But I am willing to push myself to learn and grow because I've had to do that my whole life. It doesn't scare me. It's actually more exciting. And number 3, find your tribe. Again, these successful athletes are not competing with each other anymore. They're actually utilizing those relationships to build a tribe of people that they can go in with together to make a difference. And number 4, which I believe to be the most important, is solve a problem that you actually care about. Don't just chase profits. but find something that matters to you and then build it around that. I know that so many of us athletes are not prepared for life after sports. It's why I created this podcast. I don't want people to feel alone in it, and I want to bridge a concept that life's not over. It's actually just beginning in a new way. But I think the biggest thing that nobody told us before our sport came to an end is that you have to find what else you're passionate about and what else makes you feel like you have a purpose, and then go do that. And truthfully, I have so much hope in this because every single skill that made you successful in your athletic career are the same skills that can be used in any career that you choose. You've got the competitive fire, you've got the discipline, and you have the ability to bounce back after failure. That's the kind of stuff that doesn't retire. So here's what I want you to do. If this episode has made you realize that there is more to life outside of your sport and has started to churn something in you of, man, I'm actually really passionate about this one thing, but I don't really know what to do with it. Or, man, I actually really care about this. Well, I want to hear from you. I think it's really beautiful when you have a group of people who comes together and can help support what our future endeavors are. As always, you can find our Instagram down in the show description if you want to send us a DM over there, or you can leave a comment below. We love checking those out. Give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. It really helps this content reach more and more people, so thank you so much for being here. And until next time, I'll see you on the next episode of the Now What Podcast.